Hey everybody, welcome to Wild, Creative, and Confident, a video interview series where you can learn from the most inspiring industry leaders on how you can use your passion and creativity to design the life and business of your dreams. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Thompson, the Creative Success Coach from wildandcreative.com, and today I have a special guest with me. You've probably seen her face all over online, Chantelle Adams. She's a professional speaker, speech stylist, and courage igniter. She's the host of the popular Shine Live event, and she's delivered over 800 speeches in the last 5 years. So that's a round of applause. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Of course. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I want to know, have you always been a very creative individual in the sense where you've always been, trying to help people really reach their true potential, live their passions?
For sure. I was thinking back over creativity, and creativity means so many different things to so many people, right? And so, but from the time I was little, I remember being on the stage singing a song about wanting a baby brother when I was just 3 years old in my big poofy dress, and I would dance and I would sing and I would play the piano in front of big crowds. I love to do all those kinds of things. And as I got older, I started to express myself through speaking and loved that piece of it. And then definitely writing books and always having some kind of new idea. I know my husband often jokes that he wants to donate my brain to research after I pass on because he's like, what goes on inside there? There's always something going on. I'm always creating something or having some kind of idea pop in. And that's why I love working with clients, because I can just channel that to them. So yes, I definitely have always had that creative in lots of different ways. So it comes out in lots of different ways.
So, right now you're the host of the Shine Live event. You're going into your second event. It's quite a popular event that happens every year now. And so I want to ask you, did you always know that you would get to this point in your life?
That's a great question. And it's something where I've always known that I wanted to make a difference. I've always known that I was meant to do something big in the world, and I didn't actually really tangibly know what that was going to look like. And so for me, about 5 years ago when I was speaking professionally, I was doing lots of assemblies with kids, and that looked very different than what I'm doing now, although there's some very common threads in it, and I can see how each step kind of prepared me for the next thing. So I definitely didn't see this exact outcome of what I'm creating and doing now, but I've always known that I'd be doing something that would be making a difference.
So I want to ask you, how have you been able to allow the universe to provide you with everything that you have today? Was there something that kind of like clicked in your mind where, things started coming in for you, or was it a gradual process?
I've always been connected to a source of kind of spiritualness and that divinity within me and kind of a higher source of power. So I've always had that feeling of intuition and guidance throughout my life. But as I stepped into what I call the courage revolution, which is where I really found my courage, and I realized that I was living a life of fear, and it was through a loss of a dear friend, and just realizing that I was alive and breathing, but I wasn't truly living. And in that moment, I realized that fear had really played a huge part in my entire life. Fear of not being good enough, fear of the unknown, fear of failure. And so I realized that in order for me to break through that fear, I needed to trust myself. And that meant tuning in. And as long as I'm tuning in and I'm aligned with my values and my truth and that kind of bigger vision and higher purpose, then things seem to fall into place and seem to work out. So that shift from fear and realizing that fear had kind of ruled my life a bit into really stepping into my courage was where I really had to trust on that kind of higher source.
It's funny though, right? Because I'm sure we could ask anybody this, but when life's going shitty, we're probably not listening to ourselves, are we? Really, that's how it goes, right? Our intuition basically is wanting to guide us into the easiest path for us to get to A, B, C, D, right? So, it gives us those options, A, B, C, D. We just have to then follow our inspiration.
And absolutely, when we don't listen, and even with those little nudges and those little hints, and we're getting that feeling when we don't listen, I found myself definitely veering off down a different road, and then learning some really tough lessons financially, where I invested in these really high level things when I didn't really need to. I had it within me, and it was a really tough lesson to learn, but it was like, okay, I wasn't listening along the way. So this big, like, in your face, what I call is, it's not a mistake, because there's always a lesson, but that happens to really wake us up and return us back to ourselves.
This reminds me of a question, or a topic that I just want to address right now, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this, and they go through this type of fear themselves. The fear of not being, say, educated in a certain area that they want to dive into for their career, or, having that certificate or having that diploma, that kind of thing. Because nowadays, now more than ever, I mean, people can make a great income online doing what they love and necessarily maybe not have that certificate or that diploma, right? What have you got to say about that?
Yes, it's actually really hard, because I have 3 boys, and of course I want them to get an education and all that, but I'm also all about just going for whatever they're passionate about. And so we actually had this conversation where they're like, well, Mom, you don't have a degree. And I'm like, I know. So I really believe that it is, and what I teach a lot is, like, dig into that story, and in your story, you learned all these lessons along the way. And I really believe that life experience accounts for so much more. You can have someone who has this big degree. I remember buying a book when I was newly married from this doctor so-and-so, and she had the PhD and all these things after her name. And I bought it, and I took it home. And within the first chapter, she said, I've never been married before. And this was a book on marriage. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Have all the degrees and all the whatever, but if you haven't lived what I'm going through right now, if you actually haven't had to live with this guy, and if you don't understand that on, like, a life experience level, then that doesn't matter to me. And same with speaking. I would way rather listen to someone who is just real, on my level, gets it, life experience, than someone who's got all the knowledge in the more degree ways. And you can totally couple those two things, but I think that a lot of people need to just look at their story and own their message, and know that that life experience is powerful, and you can teach so much from that.
It's funny though, right? It's like getting a book and, like, studying it from an author that the book's called How to Make $1 Million. And you find out they haven't made $1 million. So it's like the same story, right? So yeah, I mean, life experience, you really want to connect with those like-minded people that have traveled a journey that you want to travel, right? So how did you really get into speaking professionally then? I want to ask you, like, did you get a speaking mentor, or?
It was a funny journey, because I've always loved, as you heard, I've always loved performing and being on stage, and from the time I was just little. And I remember doing some speaking things in my teen years and enjoying it and loving it, and seeing I was working in the schools with special needs kids. And I remember I was sitting there, and there'd be an assembly that would come in, and they'd either be super entertaining, but you'd sit there and go, what are they teaching these kids? They're not teaching them anything. Or the opposite, where they were like, they were teaching them something, but they were boring as heck, and the kids are, like, so stressed out and so bored and not paying attention. And so I just had that moment of, I can do this. And so I did. And so I created this incredible assembly program where I was teaching about courage and determination and positive thinking. And I was able to get booked out solid and travel around to all these different schools. And it was an incredible experience, and really built my ability to speak, which then now is the foundation of my current business.
Like, so now, even when you get up to your Shine Live events, do you ever have a little bit of, like, butterflies in your stomach, or are you just like, yes, this is what I'm here to do, or both?
Yeah, so I love that you bring that up, because people will say, you've spoken so many times, you must not even get nervous. And I actually have this thing where, as soon as I no longer feel those butterflies and that energy, because I have re-seen it as it's not fear, it's excitement, right? So I reframe that in my own mind, and I see it as I'm about to do something amazing, exciting. But I've always said, it's the moment I don't feel that fear, then I need to stop. because that means that I've gotten complacent or bored, or I'm not pushing myself. And also because I care so much, even before this interview, I was getting all nervous because I care. I want to do a great job. I want to make sure that I'm on point. And that brings in those emotions and feelings. And that, I think those emotions and feelings, I believe, help you to perform at an even bigger level because you have that much more energy and excitement to deliver.
What suggestions can you provide to the people that are watching that can really bring into their life the energy of whatever their true authentic calling is? Does that make sense? Like for those that are watching that maybe haven't found it yet or are very close, but still there's some things that they have to work through to really find out what that is. What can you provide us there?
Sure. I think there's a couple things. So just as we were talking, the story.
Mm-hmm.
So people who have dove into their story and really looked at what was that real turning point for me, from when's that moment where I really broke down, and what were those emotions? What was I feeling? What was I going through? And what helped me break through? And what are the lessons I've learned along the way? As you really take some time to investigate your own story, some magical things will start to come up, and you can start to connect the dots, and you can see where, oh, this is what I love to do. And also just trying things on and putting things out there and not thinking it has to be perfect or it has to be the exact thing. And because I know I've been a little bit of a serial entrepreneur, so I've gone from all sorts of different venues, and then I'm like, hey, yeah, this isn't really good for me. And I remember feeling bad about that. I used to think I always start, but I don't really follow through or finish. And I used to kind of have this negative feeling about that. And then I realized, you know what? I'm a creative. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to put it on. I'm going to see how it feels, how I enjoy it. And if it's not really lighting me up, I'm going to move on. And it's a beautiful permission to be able to just try something on, do something, try lots of different things until you really find that thing that lights you up, that you could lose track of time doing. And that's definitely speaking for me. And that storytelling piece, and something that just fills you, doesn't deplete you. And as you find that, and then you can find a way to teach that to the world or to use that in a way to create a business around it. There's always a way. There's always a way to find that connection.
I love that you brought up that you have done many, many things because, for our family members, maybe our grandparents or our parents that we've grown up with, chances are they had a career their whole life, right? And it's a different time now where, people are able to express their creativity, move from career to career to career because it's not fulfilling to them, right? Like we have that option. And it's great that you mentioned that because, probably all through my 20s, I probably had like 8 or 9 different careers. Like it was going to be my life career. But they didn't work out, and maybe not that they weren't successful, but I just like in my heart, didn't feel that that was the one. And so to our family or our friends, it looks like we're all like willy-nilly, like all over the place, right? But truly it's just, we're just making an educated decision on whether or not this is 100% right for us, right? And it's going to change anyway in 10 years. We're going to always be like shifting into another direction, right? So
that's the powerful thing of a creative, right? We're always adapting, changing, and as we grow, then obviously what we want to put out into the world is going to grow and change and alter. And I think that's a beautiful thing that we have that opportunity to be able to express ourselves in so many different ways. And also, as I look back, everything that I've done has given me some sort of skill or taught me a different kind of lesson or helped me to grow in some way that then has prepared me for this new venture.
Mm-hmm. I bet there are so many people watching this that are in a place where they're maybe already doing something that they really, really enjoy, or, they're on the path to doing that and they're feeling good about it. Maybe it's not working for them financially yet. What would you say people could implement that would make a difference in them receiving that monetary success in a sense, right? Because sometimes we have all the pieces of the puzzle, but it's just that one last piece where receiving has to do with it, right?
Absolutely. So a couple things. There's more the emotional mindset piece of really digging deep into your why and really not just saying, I want to make 6 figures or I want to do this, but getting really, really clear on well, what does that look like? And what do I have to do as my part of the equation to make that happen? And also, something that was really interesting in my journey is that when I started this business and I was ready to rock and roll, my key focus was the Courage Revolution. That was my business. And I knew I wanted to work with women entrepreneurs, and I knew the power that courage had in my life. It had helped me launch this business. It had helped me take action on so many levels, connect with powerful influencers, write books, all these things. So I knew that courage is the foundation. And yet, when I launched my first little program around courage, it was like crickets. It was like, yeah, what do I do now? And I had already done a beta test with Center Stage, which is my signature program for speaking, and it had sold out right away. And so I was like, okay, I'll go back to that, which I love too, but I was kind of sad that the courage thing didn't fly. Yet, here's the catch. When I teach speaking, when I teach storytelling, which people are willing to pay for, so it's my modality, my heart message is courage. So they pay for the speech, they pay for the public speaking training and the story clarity and the clarity on their business. But what they also get all along the way is that confidence and courage. And I teach courage. One of my modules is turning fear into fuel. Every part of my messaging and what I still teach is courage. It's just that I had to package it in a slightly different vehicle so people could say, heck yeah, I want to pay for courage, and I want to speak on stages to make that happen. So it's just a slightly different look at how you can package what you're truly passionate about is courage, but the vehicle is, and I'm still very passionate about speaking and storytelling, but that was just the vehicle that people were willing to pay for.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good point, because so many people, I mean, especially in the coaching world, which I'm sure there's a lot of coaches that'll be watching, you love confidence building, you love creativity, you love using your intuition, you love this and that and the other thing. And usually as a professional, you have to kind of pick one word and stick with it, right? And then you kind of feel like, yeah, I'm leaving out all these other parts of me. But really, we can just create like a family tree of words, right? Where we're using all of those other words as our fuel for our business, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's such a good point. Tell me, what's been your biggest achievement to date?
So the last launch that I did just this past January, February was a 200K launch. And I had set that intention. I had set the intention, and this is what's kind of cool about it is I'm always pleasantly surprised of how things happen, not really how I plan it. But because I set the intention and then I get to work and I look at the numbers and I figure out how many people do I need and what price point and all these things, and I get it all clear. And if I need this many people, how many do I need in my funnel, and how do I need to come to my challenge, and how many people do my affiliates need to bring in, and I work it all out. So I really show the universe that I am serious by knowing my stuff and knowing I'm going to put in the action. I'm going to put in the work. And, but always, so towards the end of this launch, I had set the goal and intention of having 100 people, 100 ladies sign up for Center Stage. And then I thought I might sell a couple Center Stage Live, which is my higher end program. But what was really cool was that I had only sold about 30 spots into Center Stage, and I started to freak out because I was like, oh, that's so far away from 100. That's what I thought I was going to get. But I had sold out Center Stage Live, which is a much higher price program, when I actually sat down and worked all the numbers and saw I was so close. I was way closer to my goal with only 30 ladies where I thought I had to have 100. It was just a different way. It was a different way that it showed up. But the intention was there. The goal was there. And it happened even 3 days before close. And then even the day of the close, I wasn't quite there. And I was only like $8,000 away. So I got creative. And I figured out I'd do this last call thing. And I left it open for that next week. And I was able to reach that goal, which blew my mind for a lot of different reasons. But
awesome.
yeah. So that was definitely the big thing, the big woohoo.
So set an intention, but be open to how you receive it and watch as it grows, but also get creative in the end if you have to, right? It's often in those final moments too that we come up with like the most brilliant plan.
Yes.
Truly, right?
For sure.
Okay, this question might be different, although it's similar. What has been your biggest achievement to date when it comes to personal power and understanding yourself to the point of ease and flow in your life and business?
So it would actually be what I thought was my biggest failure, was really looking back, was my greatest lesson. And I think that's my greatest achievement. Was last year, as I was looking at selling out Shine Live, and I started to kind of freak out. This was in like June, and I didn't have too many tickets sold besides the free ones that I'd given with my program. So I was like, this is costing me, $20,000. I need to sell some tickets. Mm-hmm. So I kind of went into fear mode. I went into lack mode. I went into freak out mode, which I know I shouldn't do. And that's where I started to hunt down the gurus, right? For sales funnels and for marketing, got some referrals from some really big names of people that they use for Facebook ads and da-da-da-da. I invested over $20,000 in these marketing duo guys. One was going to build this crazy, amazing funnel, and one was going to do the Facebook ads. And they both were like, yep, we're going to sell, 100 tickets, and then we're going to sell live stream tickets. And they had all these great numbers. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that return would be amazing, of course, because I'm going to make my money back, no problem. Well, I had those little nudges along the way. And I actually said no a few times. And then I was like, okay, whatever. We'll go with this. We got to go with this. I wasn't trusting myself. I wasn't listening to myself. I was allowing others to kind of influence my decision. And didn't sell one ticket through this whole strategy.
Big, expensive funnel system.
Not one ticket. And here I am, because we had to build it and it took so much time. And I put all my eggs in that one basket. We're 4 weeks away from the event now. Not one ticket, because it took all that time to build it and then launch it, and the launch just flopped.
Yeah.
And I went, oh crap, what am I going to do? And so I went into myself. I got creative. I went and got still. I listened to what I needed to do. I went back to the roots of, I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to do a fun contest. I'm going to get on Facebook, do a challenge, all the things that work. All the things that I do, not necessarily what the gurus are doing, but what I do that's led to my success. And I was able to sell about 60 tickets, which was wonderful in just that short amount of time. And so it was a big lesson to me, and it brought up a lot of guilt and shame around that, but I really had to work through it. And it took a long time, but it also showed me, and that's why this last launch was so tender to me, because I didn't hire a big fancy team. I used what I had already had. I didn't create all brand new marketing. It didn't cost nearly as much as any of my other launches. I did a lot of the work on my own. I also gave myself space and time, and that last week didn't hustle so hard and push myself to burnout. I did it really differently and really tuning in, and I made way more than I'd ever made before. So it was just this beautiful lesson that was a really hard lesson that led to that beautiful big moment for me.
And I think it's absolutely different for everybody, right? I mean, some people get success with working with people that they have to pay a lot for, helping them do all the ads, all the funnels, all that kind of stuff. And some people find their success in doing it themselves. And it's really all about what feels really good to you, right? Because there is no right and wrong reason. Because, I mean, so many of the time I do a lot of stuff by myself, like online for the series and all that, of course, with help with other people. But, when I tell them, they're asking me, did you get a couple of VAs to help, all this stuff? And I said, like, no. You know what I mean? Like, I find ease and flow in doing certain things myself, right? And that's the same for so many people. So thank you for sharing that, because I think people think that, to make $200,000 in a launch, you have to hire, $50,000 of work, right? And it just proves that you don't have to, right? So whatever feels good.
Absolutely. And that's the key, right? I definitely have a team and I have support, but it's just that it was not tuning in and listening to myself and what I really needed in that moment. So that's the big lesson.
What have you found has been your biggest help, like online, like regarding programs or maybe webinars, or what has been kind of like your key helper when it's come to visibility, selling products or selling your course, that kind of thing?
So as far as what I do strategy-wise?
Yeah, like is webinar something that's really worked wonderful for you? Or is there another kind of program or activity that you do?
Yeah, so hands down, it's Facebook challenges. So Facebook challenges have definitely been when I had my very first official launch was a 10K launch. I had 243 people on my list, and they had all come from a challenge that flopped. That was the Courage Revolution challenge, like the Courage one that had flopped. But then from there, I had that 243 on my list, was able to launch Center Stage, had that 10K launch. So I have a relatively small list, but what Facebook Challenges does for me is it allows me to give tons of amazing value and really connect with people. So again, I've tried different things that I see other people doing, and it just hasn't worked for me because it doesn't have that same connection piece. Like the video series on its own, that I'm like sitting here going, are you guys watching it? Does anybody have any questions? And no one's talking back because they're all just watching it. So I really love the Facebook challenge because I can get in there, I can coach people, I can hear their stories, I can connect with them on a deep level. And I think that's also why I've had such success, is because they're getting that support right then and there, that they're like, wow, I want to continue this with you.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be the same for everybody, right? Like we come back to that again. I mean, there are a lot of people on that line that you see are having great success with webinars or having great success with the challenges. But for your business model, whatever that is, right, it's probably the connection points aren't going to be the exact same, right? So you have to really try everything and feel it out, or really listen to your intuition and find out what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Tell me about what's going on behind the scenes with you, like what kind of projects we can see coming from you. Tell us about your big event that's coming up.
For sure. So right now I'm just preparing for Center Stage Live, which is my 3-day live event, and it's the premium where everybody comes and they get hair and makeup and their demo videos and their photo shoot, and it's super fun. And then I'm also obviously preparing for Shine Live, which is a 3-day event, but that's more conference style with about 200 powerhouse women coming and lots of incredible speakers, all helping you to shine online and live. So that's exciting, and I love that. And then I'm also just doing a big rebrand. So I'm going to be launching a brand new website soon. Woo-hoo. That's like birthing a kid, I tell you. It's craziness. So really excited to share that out into the world. And I'm also just really centering and coming back to myself to see what is next for me, and what is that I'm feeling like I'm really in that cocoon phase where I've had this really great success with Center Stage and what I've created. And now I'm feeling like I'm getting pulled in some different levels, different directions, and I need to really sit with that. So I'm in this place of, over the summer and over the next few months, of really not making any big decisions or launching anything big, because I'm the courage igniter. I just jump in as soon as I feel like I want to do something, I go for it. So this is really hard for me to like just stop and assess and think about what am I going to do moving forward, and what feels best for me moving forward. So definitely some big shifts are coming, but not exactly sure what that looks like, but it's going to be fun.
Oh, it's exciting. Do you have a freebie that you're giving to those that are watching today?
For sure. So what I love is speaking, getting people over that fear of speaking, getting people out there sharing their message. And it doesn't have to be speaking on stage. It can be speaking in interviews or telesummits or podcasts, all those things. So speaking really is a lot. It takes a lot of courage, right? There's the courage thing. And it's also a wonderful way to grow your business and your visibility and share your creativeness with the world. So I have Speak Your Way to the Top, and it's a video training series that starts with you being able to know how to deliver a standing ovation worthy speech, how to get booked to speak online and live, and then also how to make 10,000 or more from even a free gig. So it's the anatomy of a 10K speech and your speaking plan. So there's videos and PDFs, and it's super fun, lots of great content. So
awesome. That's wonderful. I'm sure a lot of people got to opt into that. That's awesome. So where can people find you online?
You can find me at chantelleadams.com soon. That's the one that's coming up. And also you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm there. Chantelle Adams Speaks is my Facebook page. And also the Speaking Extravaganza group that I have on Facebook too.
Awesome. Yes, that group, you were always sharing in that group. So that's awesome. Speaking of extravaganza, check that out. And I'll put all the details in Chantel's bio. And I've got one more question for you. What is it that makes you wild, creative, and confident?
Ooh, so for me, I love Zumba.
Nice.
I actually hurt my knee a little while back, and I've been just devastated because I can't get to Zumba class. But anytime I can crank up the music, my kids laugh at me all the time because I'm always cranking up the music and singing and dancing. That just gets me into this place of just unbridled, just passion, going for it, shaking my thing. So it really is. And actually, the big download that I received from my center stage program was right after a Zumba class, and I was like, I know it's because I was moving my body and I was being creative and I was having fun that then the inspiration came.
Nice. Awesome. I imagine you like when you're older, like older, and you're like, oh no, my knee, like a Zumba accident, like Zumba injury.
Totally, Zumba injury.
Thank you so much for being a part of the series. You added such an interesting element to all the speakers, and I'm sure we're going to see big things from you in the future. So thank you again. And thank you everybody that's watching. And don't forget to check out the new Wild, Creative, and Confident program, 6 Steps to Creative Success. And information will be below. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much.